네, 안녕하세요. 물론 우리 버나드 대표가 영어로 소개를 했지만 제가 잠깐 이분들에 대해서 한국말로 소개를 하도록 하겠습니다. 우선 MR 같은 경우는 여러분들 요즘에 빅데이터 하지 않습니까? 그게 예전에 야후가 이제 발명한 하둡이라는 테크놀로지가 있습니다. 거기에 같이 그거를 공동으로 만드신 분이고요. 그래서 거기서 나오셔가지고 클라우데라는 회사를 창업해가지고 이 전 세계가 지금 얘기하고 있는 이 빅데이터를 보편화한 주인공이라고 생각하시면 돼요. 그래서 엄청난 분이시고 또 이분이 작년에 벡테라라는 생성 AI와 관련된 또 스타트업을 또 시작을 하셔서 지금 또 사업을 이어나가고 있습니다. 우리 차 교수님 같은 분은 정말 우리 대한민국의 또 데이터베이스 또 빅데이터 AI의 산 증인이라고도 말씀드릴 수 있고요. 뭐 서울대 나오시고 스탠포드에서 PhD 받으시고 두 분 다 스탠포드 PhD십니다. 나오셔서 또 모교로 돌아오셔가지고 제자들을 가리키고 또 한국의 또 빅데이터 대학원, AI 대학원까지 또 서울대학교에 만드셔서 또 후배들 양성. 그 와중에 이 또 대단한 회사를 또 창업을 하셨죠. 지금 SAP 하나라고 불려지는 거기에 기초가 되는 기술을 만드는 회사를 또 창업을 하시고 그것을 SAP가 인수를 하면서 그게 인메모리 데이터베이스의 그것을 발명하신 분인데 그게 이제 SAP에 인수가 되면서 그게 SAP 하나가 됐습니다. 그래서 오늘 주제인 이 Generative AI 이게 도대체 우리 삶을 어떻게 바꿀 것인가에 대한 것을 이 두 분을 모시고 한번 의미 있는 대화를 나누도록 하겠습니다. Alright, so I kind of built you guys up a bit, but
I only got the Stanford part. I had to say Stanford.
So you guys have that connection, the Stanford PhD. So let's talk about this GPT, generative AI, ChatGPT, and all that, right? Why is this such a big deal? Should it be that big deal? Is this hype or is this something real? We'll start with you, Amr.
Well, no, it's absolutely not hype, right?
Okay.
So I think it's clear to all of us right now that we reached a point where, for the first time ever, AI and machines can understand us. They can understand us just speaking in our language in any way we would like. And that has never happened before, that we had this capability. So I look at what's happening right now as significant, if not bigger, than the iPhone moment. So what was the iPhone moment? When the iPhone came, it allowed us to evolve the average person from being able to use a mouse and a keyboard to anybody now just using their hands and their fingers and swipe right and swipe left and zoom in and zoom out and interact with apps. And that opens up consumption of software to a lot more people on the planet. But if you really think more deeply about it, the more natural way that we interact with each other is just to talk and say what we want. I want this, I want that. Here is a picture that has the three of us. Can we put Bernard here in the middle? And Bernard would just show up in the middle. Instead of having to learn how to use Photoshop and how to use the mouse and the menus to get that done. So that's what's going on. We now have the ability to truly understand what a human means when they speak.
So I'm going to come back to you because clearly when somebody like MR decides to start something new with his company Vectara in the space of generative AI, clearly you had to pay attention. So that was back in January, right? So just coming right back to you again.
January of last year.
Yeah, January last year. So, full 12 months. And 12 months these days is a lifetime, it seems like. So every day is something new. So it's a big deal. So it's the first time that we're going to have a truly intelligent computer. But Vectara, tell us about Vectara. What problems is it?
It was very hard to explain what Vectara does. Last year when we started, we launched our company in October. So we started early in the year, we launched in October. And it was still hard to explain to people what we do. We would tell them we have this amazing AI that can understand you. And I'm like, what do you mean? We don't get it. And then ChatGPT came out. And it became much more easier for us to explain what we do. So what we tell people now is we are ChatGPT, but for your own data, right? So imagine yourself a VC firm like SparkLabs. They would take all of the amazing pitches they're getting from all of you. They would take the investment memos that they're writing. Why did they invest? Why did they do not invest? and ingest it into this amazing platform where they can now have a conversation with the data. They can ask the data, oh, the last time when somebody was pitching me an idea in the blockchain space, why did I pass? Why did I decline? And the system will reply back and say, you declined for these reasons. Reason number 1, reason number 2, and reason number 3. It's not results. It's not fetching back the links to the PowerPoint, the links to the investment memo so you go and read them. No, it actually read them, it understood them, and it's just giving you the answer. So we're moving away from search engines, which is the old way of doing things, is you get a bunch of links that you have to go read to figure out the answer. And now we have this amazing thing that just gives you the answer. And then you can have a conversation with it. When it gives you the answer and tells you reason 1 was this, reason 2 was this, reason 3 was this, you can tell it, oh, tell me more about reason number 2. And it will tell you more about reason number 2. And then you can even reason with it. You can tell it, okay, if this idea was a bit different, was blockchain, but was in the movies area, would I have said yes? I would tell you, yeah, there's a probability of 70% you would have said yes, right? So that's kind of where we are right now. We have this amazing capability that is able to consume our enterprise data, our reports, our memos, our research, and then allows us to talk with it just like it is another person in the room.
So that's going to be our second topic today, which is about how do enterprises actually use this great technology, because there are some obstacles that need to be overcome. To Professor Chop, so you've been involved with this technology space for a long time. The arc of history and the future trend. Same question to you. Is this real? Is this really important?
Well, thank you. Thank you for explaining SAP HANA. Actually, I recently heard that the number of customers, enterprise customers, increased to 32,000 over a decade. I mean, the actual number of users will be a lot more.
Professor Chop, you may want to just get the mic. Yeah.
So, coming back to your question, the message that the ChatGPT as a service platform and the GPT as an engine have been sending to the world for the past months is that AI technology is crossing the strategic inflection point. And it means that the AI technology is being useful to the general public, not just the narrow domains. And in other words, also the commoditization of AI has started. Whenever we cross this kind of inflection point, new opportunities are unfolded in a huge scale. This time, I would say this is really huge. So affecting lives of every individual and then the business of every enterprise.
Yeah.
And also, whenever this happens, the game changers emerge. This time we are seeing that OpenAI and Microsoft, which has been perceived behind the Google in research, in AI research, but by teaming up with OpenAI, Microsoft has just suddenly has become a leader. So the game has changed. And what I would like to say, and this is something similar to what I had, when working on SAP HANA, in the secret mode, I have to persuade the chairman of SAP, and then we secretly worked for, a couple of years, and then suddenly, we launched, and then the competitors cannot catch up, once you are prepared. So I think this is exactly what has happened with Microsoft and OpenAI for the past maybe 1 year. So I think we are seeing that the game is changing, and that means there's a big earthquake coming, and that means there are many opportunities.
Okay, I'm going to ask a little bit of a personal question. I mean, so as an inventor of Hadoop, is this bigger than Hadoop?
Oh, this is way bigger than Hadoop.
Okay, all right. As an inventor of in-memory database, is this bigger than in-memory database?
Absolutely.
So you guys heard this. This is real. In fact, if I was a younger man, I would just quit my job and just start something here, because this is,
Yes,
I mean,
I agree.
I've seen internet. When I started my business in '98, That's when the commercial internet was taking off. The excitement that I felt back then, I feel it again. When I saw the mobile come around in 2008, especially with the Apple, that was exciting. But this is like 1,000 times bigger. This is time to go all in.
Yeah, and it's bigger than, like I use the iPhone moment analogy here, but just to show the communication interface. But in terms of the impact on the world, no, it's bigger than the iPhone moment. Right. So this is as big, if not bigger, than the Industrial Revolution, right? Yeah. So the Industrial Revolution was how we figured out to use machines to be a lot more efficient in making stuff. And stuff could be cars, could be cranes for building buildings, could be machines to make a piece of a suit like I'm wearing right now. And Korea actually was one of the leaders in the world on latching onto that wave. That wave reset the economic composition of the entire world, right? And the countries that knew how to take advantage of it, like Korea, became leaders in the world because of that. Yeah. The same exact thing is happening right now. This is now about not what we could do with our hands, this is about what we could do with our brains. Yeah. And we have technology that can do that for us right now.
So let's talk about that. Let's talk about let's dive right into it, because clearly, Microsoft is excited about it to the tune of putting $10 billion like that, right? Google declared code red. Now, some of the smartest people presumably work for Google, and now they're working around the clock to do something about it. They've been doing it for a long time, but they feel like they need to catch up. And obviously a bunch of Chinese giants. So it's good. I mean, clearly this is a good news for tech giants, I think. But what about the rest of us? I own some stocks of Google or Microsoft, but I don't work for them, and I run a startup, and we invest in startups. So how do companies kind of survive and thrive in this new paradigm shift?
Yeah. So the beauty of this motion, and I would like to hear from Dr. Sang as well, is it's software. It's not hardware. Hardware is a lot more defensible, whether that be hardware as in machines in the Industrial Revolution or hardware as in CPUs and chips and so on. Software has the magic of open source. And first, small correction, Google is not sleeping at the wheel. Google is ahead of everybody else. Google is just being cautious. They're being very cautious because they know that this technology, if not done in the right way, it can backfire. It can actually accidentally convince somebody to commit suicide, right? Or take the wrong medicine, which can be very, very damaging. So Google is just very cautious, which I give them credit for. The T in GPT.
By the way, he was at Google.
Yeah, I did work at Google for 2 years, so I'm biased a bit. but this is the truth. Like the T in GPT came from Google research. Yeah. If it wasn't Google research publishing that paper as an open source paper that allows everybody to leverage it, OpenAI would not have created GPT. So we have to give them credit where credit is due. Now, the amazing, beautiful thing for all of us and all of you in this room right now is there is so much amazing open source stuff happening in this world where you can get these models. Hugging Face has almost all of these models available for people to go and download them. Facebook very nicely released something called Llama, which is an open source version of the equivalent of GPT. Stability AI, the creators of Stable Diffusion or Midjourney, if any of you use that for art, just yesterday, literally yesterday, just happened. They released a completely open source, commercially used, non-commercially used, licensed software that is give you the same capability that GPT gives you. So if it wasn't for these things, I would say yes, this is locked up inside of just OpenAI and Microsoft, but the truth is far from it. This is available to all of us. And there is so much disruption that can be made by each one of you finding a very good idea to apply this technology on. And it's available to you to do that right here, right now.
And you're putting your, he's walking the walk because obviously he started Vectara. I mean, he didn't start it to be a second fiddle, right? He clearly thinks that he's going to change the world again. So what do you think? I mean,
I think the big guys like Microsoft and Google will lead the infrastructure play. Obviously, you need the scale of people and the scale of money and the scale of data. I mean, it's obvious, but there's a lot of application platform opportunities. I'm having worked with SAP for many, many years. I know that ERP, for example, is a very old concept. What is ERP? ERP is the logging of events in the enterprise, but usually people start with the planning. This Gen AI can generate the plans, and then we can execute along the plan, and we change the plan. This whole cycle creating new opportunities for enterprise software. That's one example. And let's talk about the industry that Korea is strong, like shipbuilding. It takes about 1 year to design a ship. But they have a history of all the designs. And then by using this AI technology, you can speed up, this ship designing process.
Right.
And also you can manage the ship construction process. This creates a entirely new business, entirely new landscape of even manufacturing industry.
Right. So in my company, so we build software too. So we have a SaaS platform for managing cloud. So we have like 125 software engineers, and each squad or each scrum is composed of 5 people. So they work on one feature. Like there's one module, and then they just keep working on it. I woke up the other day thinking, okay, I got 125 software engineers. I think I could create 125 modules now, have them code with Copilot, right? And then instead of them coming to me and saying, I need to hire 5 more people, no, I'll just go back to them and say, no, you are gonna use GPT to code and just start working on it. But then my worry then, the logical conclusion of that is shoot, my customers might not need my software anymore because it's so easy and cheap to make software that fits their needs. Maybe it's actually, I was thinking that this is gonna be really, really good for enterprise software companies. But the other side of me start worrying about, holy cow, I might be out of a job because they could just start coding. So, what's your prediction?
So, there's 2 aspects to what you covered right now. One is this technology ready for the enterprise, which is a very key topic that we need to address. And then the other one is what's going to happen to the job market overall and how it's going to evolve. And that's a much bigger topic that we should also chat about. But on the former topic, these large language models, they still suffer from 2 issues, 2 very fundamental issues that make them harder for enterprises to adopt. The first one is the issue of hallucination. Hallucination is the technical term that we use to describe when the large language model makes up stuff that is not correct, right? So you tell it, I would like you to write this piece of code for me, and instead it would add a few lines that are deleting files that you did not want to delete because it just thought that was a cool thing to do. That's how the probabilistic models inside of these systems work. We need to solve hallucination. So that's one of the key problems actually that we at Vectara help solve and minimize. The other very, very important problem to solve is privacy and data loss. So these models today, they are to work for your data. The default approach is to retrain the model with your data. But if I'm going to retrain the model with my data, then your fear will come true. That means now that OpenAI is going to use my data to be better at designing ships than I am at designing ships. So then why should I give my data to OpenAI? So that's a very big problem that we need to solve, where we can create these models that allow companies themselves to build this capability without depending on somebody like an OpenAI.
I think that's a long way of saying you should buy Vectara solution.
Vectara with Bespin, we're partners,
yes.
so we'll do it together.
So well, I think there's a lot of friction, there's a lot of problems, there are a lot of obstacles that still need to be overcome, which is both a threat and a great opportunity for entrepreneurs because, like we said, paradigm shift, new players. Switching gears, so what do countries like Korea have to do? So I'm involved in digital platform government, and Professor Cha has been just a lone voice in the wilderness, just keep pounding the table saying that we need to innovate, we need to change the way we do things, invest in software, invest in AI. Professor Cha, what can Korea do in this?
I guess the answer is not simple, but
Sure.
I think first of all, we need the people, the right set of technical people first, and then we need the leadership, and the right leadership that decisively, make a decision on the direction, and then and it's not only at the corporate level, but also at the government level and even society level. We need the right leadership. And And then I think, for countries like Korea, size is not really high, big. So we need to go for the open innovation. So we need to team up with other countries, and also of course we cannot team up with China, but we certainly team up with Europe and the U.S. and the other part of the world, and that's one thing that we should pursue, and also the last week I think the government released a plan for digital platform government, and which is a very good timely, because we can initiate the collection of the document at least from the government side, and then use that kind of structured data, semi-structured, but it's just quite structured data to train these chatbots. So I think this is something that I can think of at first, but there are a lot more things that we have to do.
Right. I mean, I think it's a good reminder to everybody that Google was not the first search engine. I mean, by some counts, 7th, by other counts, like 14th. Remember, Google was not the first search engine. Facebook was not the first. There was a Friendster, MySpace in Korea, but so. Just because some of these big tech companies of today are getting ahead doesn't mean they're going to be the winner. I mean, the game is far, far from over. Infrastructure cost is something that we do have to deal with it. The cost of it, it's actually quite high. We kind of ran a test inside our company. When you want to use the ChatGPT or generative AI, all the content that we have need to be converted into a vector format, Vectara, but it's like 70 times the storage requirement. So the compute, the storage, all that need to be solved. But coming back to this question about what can different companies, then also countries, and I know, Amar, you're Egyptian by birth, but you were educated in the US and then started your business in the US. But you have deep ties to the region, and I know you're involved with the Saudi.
Yeah, I got an honorary citizenship
Right.
from them, and that was because of the success of Cloudera in the region, but also because I was helping them on the big data and data science and machine learning kind of aspects, and entrepreneurship as well.
Yeah, so it's taking that kind of spirit of innovation to these type of, I guess, lesser ecosystems so far. So what is Saudi to do? What is Egypt to do? What is some of the other countries?
Yeah, so I would say Korea teaches the other countries what to do. Because again, South Korea nailed it when it comes to the Industrial Revolution. You absolutely nailed it. And how did you nail it? You nail it. Nail it means you did it correctly by having the will and having the perseverance and having the intention from the top down. Like the entire country, we are going to be excellent at this. We are going to invest in this. We're going to teach our kids about this. We're going to bring experts from outside to help us make this happen. We're going to give them visas. We're going to give them citizenships to make it happen because we know how important this is for us. So if I were to summarize one lesson for what every country should be doing right now in the face of this, if they want to stay a leader in the next era, again, looking at how the Industrial Revolution shifted seats around across the world, if you want to be one of the leaders and retain one of these seats in the future, you have to have that top will coming from all the way down, including the government spending on local infrastructure with GPUs and clusters that entrepreneurs can use. Because an entrepreneur starting a company with just $3 million of funding, they won't be able to train one of these models. They won't be able to, unless if the government helps them out.
So, I mean, if you had the year of the president, or like what would be like some of the more concrete steps, or even like some CEO of a major corporation, so they're worried about being disrupted, or they want to be out in front to use this technology, right? Like, what would be your advice?
I guess right now the globalization is really important because of the speed of change. So under the center, the epicenter is Silicon Valley. So I think
And London. UK actually is doing well.
UK too?
Like Stability AI, the creators of Stable Diffusion, they're out of the UK.
Yeah, DeepMind and all those guys.
So, So I think if you want to be a player in this game, you should have a presence in the epicenter, and that's what I actually wanted to establish. And I started the graduate school of data science at Seoul National University. I mean, we're not just teaching local data scientists. We wanted to teach the student to grow up to the global, continuous innovator. So we should have. Even now, and I'm inviting speakers from the Silicon Valley to give every week seminar. So this is something happening. But on the other hand, we want to send the people to the epicenter. And they get them experience, and then feel the speed, and feel the actual understand what's happening in that world.
Okay, so we got less than a minute left. I'm gonna give each of our distinguished panelists a chance to say the closing remark. But before we do, okay, Microsoft stock versus Google stock, which one?
I mean, if I knew the answer to that, I wouldn't even start a company. I would just put the money in one of them and watch the money grow.
But it's another.
I would say neither. I would say neither, actually.
Okay.
So I think the big companies suffer from the innovator's dilemma, and they are both in the innovator's dilemma box right now, where Google just wants to return its cash cow, which is search, and Microsoft just wants to return its cash cow, which is Microsoft Office, Windows and Excel and whatever. And anything else is peanuts compared to these. And hence, it's hard for them to see the new opportunities as they come up fast enough.
Yeah, I think one thing that you and I could agree on is that whatever we could imagine this technology will bring, I don't think we can imagine it today. I mean, whatever the next big Amazon, next big Google, next big Facebook, there's a good chance, probably more than 90% chance, as none of the companies that we talk about today, right? I think that this is where ecosystems like Egypt, Saudi, Korea still has a chance, so don't give up, don't get discouraged. Final thoughts with Professor Cha, and then, on the topic of generative AI, innovation, national strategy, final thoughts to share with the audience.
Yeah, so just last comment, I talked about other things, so the entrepreneurship is really important. And that, I mean, there's huge opportunities open to many young people here in Korea and also worldwide. So I encourage young people to dream of a startup and then prepare for the startup. Thank you.
Same thing, like dream big. Don't dream how can I solve a problem just in Korea. Dream how can you solve a problem for the world. And many of the pitches today were like that. Like we started here and we're going to go outside. We started here and then we're going to go outside. So always be thinking like that. How can I solve a problem for the world?
Great. Round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much. Thank you.